at that.
I am Sherry. I am the fourth horsewoman for Jessica.
Close to that mic, girl.
More?
Lean down.
Just take it.
Just about.
Love it.
Oh.
Yeah, we're good.
So, I met Jessica through my old job at the coffee center at Office Depot. My first memory of her was her carrying bags full of stuff and setting up on one of the tables. She proceeded for the next few hours to use the cutters, glue, and scissors to make her creations. I would politely ask her if she needed help, and she would, with her pin needle focus, just say no, and return back to her work. In future meetings, small talk was exchanged, and I was eventually upgraded to being the only competent one who could print out her signature aqua color for the Girl Who Drew You projects. When Jessica had a job, it was quite common that she would emerge all done up, dressed in black, and running through the store in a panic. She would ask me for a specific cardstock to have her events printed on. Back then, for live events, part of the full service of Girl Who Drew You was also having a specialized border on the paper with the event and the date around the drawing that she was about to create. Just another way you were getting a one-of-a-kind experience from a Girl Who Drew You. Usually Jessica would be coming in at high speeds, writing specific directions for me on a post-it, and finishing up her last-minute details for the job while I printed her items. There would be a usual, "Oh my God, thank you," and then in a whirlwind, she was gone. As years continued with our interactions, we became friendly and then super friendly. Hours were spent exchanging details of our daily lives with each other. When I finally left Office Depot, Jessica made me mint chocolate cupcakes. She made her grandmother's recipe, and was very specific in mentioning that she can bake very well, but never does, except for special occasions. She also brought me milk, balloons, and accessories to take a photo honoring this milestone. Around this time is when I decided that this is an extremely special and unique person that has a heart of gold and someone I didn't want to leave behind as I left this job. At the same time, we were both going through pivotal points in our lives. Jessica had a falling out with her floral coworkers and realized some of her friendships were one-sided. This is a sentiment that I know all too well. When you have a kind heart and always want the best for the ones you love, you must be careful who you surround yourself with and who you choose to dedicate your time and efforts to. Jessica was processing the ideas of having a smaller circle of friends. I was there to support her choice to downsize to a core group of people that would appreciate her unique brand of friendship.
Goddamn paper.
You got this.
Office Depot, y'all.
Jessica was the type of person that always thought of others, even to a fault. She was a perfectionist at heart and a procrastinator by nature. She led her level of detail and crazy ability to find the most ridiculously special gift for any occasion or absolutely no occasion was astounding. She was extremely hard on herself because no matter how amazing she made something or found something for someone, there was always a more elaborate plan or idea in her head that she wanted to do. As my friendship grew with Jessica, this was also the time she decided to make Girl Who Drew You front and center and choose to pursue this business full time. I was able to witness from the start all of her frustrations and celebrations of starting this business, this brand, this one-of-a-kind talent that Jessica brought to everything she touched and made. Jessica, throughout the years, would always devalue her worth of her art and, in the beginning, lowered prices so that she could book a job versus potentially lose a client. She would always tell me how much she should have charged for additional details and background options, but would say, "Who's going to pay that much?" It wasn't until she began to shift from weddings to proposals and was cited in Little Vegas Weddings website for the 19 perfect proposal ideas to pull off in Las Vegas that she really started to view her self-worth professionally. She would tell me, I'm the cheapest option on this list. So charging X amount was finally reflected in the amount of time and effort she put forth in each individual project. I think professionally, Jessica was finally in a comfortable space. She did exactly what she always wanted to do, was working for herself, and was making a great living from it. Now, Jessica from a personal level. She became one of my nearest and closest friends, and for over the last 10 years, she knew all the intimate details of my life. She documented all of our parties, even if the majority of the photos were blurred. She might have been the best photographer, but she captured all the emotions and feel-goods of every gathering. She was the only reason why my wedding was an amazing success. She not only made me a personalized binder of all the things I needed, including photo references, a list of vendors, she also tabbed everything, and gave me a checklist of a time frame to complete everything by. Jessica took it upon herself to be my mermaid of honor, as well as my wedding planner. She took sole responsibility of all arrangements to the extent that I became completely clueless about what was going on. I remember receiving a phone call from one of the vendors asking a basic question about something. I, of course, did not know the answer, so I texted Jessica. I immediately got a phone call from her apologizing that the vendor had contacted me. She told me that all vendors were on strict instructions not to contact or call me the week of my wedding so I could relax and not stress. In her words, this will be taken care of. That was Jessica, taking on the burden of most things to make other lives happier. She also arranged my baby shower, which was an elaborate event in a true Jessica style. It involved removing my furniture and renting additional couches to better accommodate my guests. She never liked my old couches. And there were small things like the fact that I did not own the proper serving dishware for parties, because it is not acceptable to just open a bag of chips. It has to be presented in good taste. I always admired her ability to refine and bring things to a grander scale, a taste that I apparently was lacking. I'm going to miss her obscenely long text messages that started with, I'm so sorry we haven't talked, and that required you to scroll about 5 times down before reaching the bottom. I'm going to miss her small and random gifts that she would get me on her out-of-state adventures, the small things I didn't think much about, but now litter my house and all rooms and make me think of her. I'm going to miss her kindness the most. She was the only one who not only wrote cards and actually bought stamps by the rolls, but who never failed to tell me that I was an amazing person. It's very rare these days to hear I thank you, and I appreciate you, a thanks for being you, and confirmations and cards from Jessica were often the only praise I would receive in my life. She would congratulate and applaud me on things that I viewed as mundane. She would constantly appreciate my friendship and my existence and compliment me on just being me. I'm reminded of how much she loved all of us, because as amazing of a friend as she was to me, she then took this love and passion and equally touched all of you in the same way. I leave you with some words from Jessica, from the abundant cards I have received in the past. Even though these words were meant for me, I'm sure that they are very similar to the ones you have received from her in your cards. When you and I first became friends, I didn't identify our relationship as best friends because I didn't have all the bells and whistles my usual friendships do. And we had only known each other for a couple of years. However, looking back to all we've shared in the past, I now see it is so much more. to someone whose weirdness matches mine perfectly, to the person who always has my best interests in heart, who helps me through the toughest times and whom I love sharing even my smallest victories. Thank you for loving me. You make a difference to your family, to us, and to so many others. That's why I'm so proud to be part of your life. You fill my life with happiness, surprise, and sisterly love. Through the happy, the sad, the crazy, and the weird, we're always there for each other with a smile and a hug. That's probably why our friendship is so great. Thank you for being you. You're amazing. Amazing in all caps, an exclamation mark, and underlined. Love you, Jess.
Y'all are in trouble now.
I'm going to untether this, first of all.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
not going to work for me.
Yeah.
There's some housekeeping to do before I get to what I really prepared here. And the first is that Gretchen, at least you didn't have to be Toto in The Wizard of Oz. I don't know if I happen to be the right size, but that was my role. Also noticed a couple of photos up here, so I relate obviously much better. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jessica's little brother, Justin. So, I relate much better to the older photos in this room. You guys knew a different side of her than I did. When I grew up, we shared a room together for many years. Michael should be upset that she doesn't have one of her braids with Granny's, because I know you have that somewhere in your house. It's a random weird lock of hair that I know you probably have somewhere. When you find it, that's Granny's braid.
I will look for. I actually found her braid the other day, so I have Jessica's, but I'll look for her braid.
So then I stand corrected. She would be very upset if her hair wasn't with Granny's, just so you know. As I was ironing my suit last night, I flew in from Michigan today, and I'm flying out tonight. As I was ironing my suit, I heard Jessica called me ridiculous. She guys can relate to. I can't do her impression, but she says, "You're ridiculous." You know what I mean?
That was real close.
Because she probably wouldn't want me to wear a suit, right? But I also remember that to my grandfather, Jaju, who we've heard referenced, she wore her famous Chuck high tops, right? Because that's Jessica. And she said that's what Jaju would have wanted. So I wore my suit. I'll get to it. Because I'll tell you, and I said this to somebody earlier, the Marines make you big and bad in a couple of ways, but not ready for this, so. I had to let somebody else get in between all the Boston accents so we didn't overflow this. This was great. Teresa, I love you. Jesus Christ. Happy's just as bad, Tracy. So I'm good with talking, as Jessica, my cousins, my mother, their mother, and our grandmother, all of us. I will tell you one other thing that I told them earlier, which was pretty funny, was, so being the only boy and being 8 years younger than any of them, or 8 years younger than Jessica, and we didn't have a lot, I got hand-me-downs, so I actually got the bicycle from the early 1970s, that's a banana seat that I taught my father, who was extremely handy in craftsmanship, out in the yard hand sanding this thing. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm just taking the paint off." And I said, "Okay." And I went about my day. A week later, I get rolled out this beautiful blue spray painted bicycle that every girl with the sissy bar rode before me, and then I got to ride it for many years. So. This is where I fit into that mix. In case you were wondering. It's fine. It's fine. I'm okay.
Are you?
Maybe. All right. So I'm good with talking, maybe to a fault, but I'm not good with losing people I love. So this won't be easy, and I apologize in advance because I know that I will stumble through this. And what I'm about to say doesn't even scratch the surface, but we don't have the kind of time that I would really need. Jessica was my older sister by 8 years. We were raised, as many of you have heard 1,000 times, as 2 only children. I too bought and sold this story for a very long time. While we've always been close, Jessica and I had grown much closer in the last 5 years, especially after the birth of my daughter, and maybe more importantly, her niece. In that time, through our conversations, I realized that we weren't 2 only children at all. She was very much present, all while I wasn't paying the closest attention. But in the last couple of weeks, in all my reflection, I'm remembering that I was there too, but until now, never fully realizing to what extent. I've been reliving random memories like our Halloween's past, and visiting her and her crew at Massart with a sheer number of Mountain Dew cans made an 11-year-old entrepreneur me think I could retire knowing that each one was worth 5 cents in Massachusetts. I think through the years, Jess and I had different ideas of what success looked like, and while I credited her greatly for each of her accomplishments, I bragged to my friends about my sister, the visual artist, that's what I call her, who lived on the West Coast. I admittedly wanted more for her. While we grew up with very little, we were never hungry, but we had very little. I wanted things to be easier for us as we grew, and I wanted to translate her incredible talent into wealth. But as I've grown older, and I've realized what is important in life, I've come to appreciate how wealthy she really was. In thinking about her work, her kindness, and the sheer attention she paid literally to everyone she cared about, I see that that's what made her the happiest, was when she was connecting with those she loved and giving what she could offer them. And that is what drove and fulfilled her. And as the recipients, our lives were so much more enriched than I think we will ever know. I can't tell you how many things in my house have her fingerprints on them. She's more of an influence than I ever realized. And I know we will all miss her for that exact same reason. Jessica is a great artist and a better person. They say you die twice. Once when you die, and once when somebody says your name for the last time. And so this is why I say she is a great person. Because as long as each of us are alive, so is she. I know that we will never stop thinking about her, her impact, her love for us, and it will be nearly impossible to not mention her a lot as we continue our lives. She lives on vividly, even though she was physically taken from us all too soon, and those are words that just keep going through my head. This is too soon. You know, as a brother, I expected when you get to 60s, 70s, whatever, you're going to lose a sibling. She's my only sister. And I did not expect it now. There's so much left to do. And from my perspective, in her classic hereditary way of micromanaging, as I talked with Michael recently, he mentioned that she left plenty of photo documentation, so if there was ever the slightest chance, should we forget, she wasn't going to let that happen. And as we all know, it was going to be her wedding. We are each luckier and wealthier than we know to have had her in our lives. I could go on because there's much, but I'm confident that we'll hear it all today. One thing I know for sure is that heaven now has the best caricature artist there is I know.
Yeah.
And she has a line miles long of family and friends that have been waiting patiently for the girl who drew all of us.
Seems like we've reached a lull. This is what I was going to go out with, but I'm going to do it now. Jessica Wallace was a tilt-a-whirl fanatic. She could smell one nearby just as easily and as welcome as newly mown grass, which was her favorite smell in the world. It's the simplest design for a thrill ride. Each car tethered to a circular path, and the rising and falling of the ride, if you lean correctly, spins you to a maddening degree. We found dozens in Nevada, California, in West Virginia, and in Indiana. Everywhere we traveled, every city we alighted on. It puzzled me sometimes in the vein of the superhero conundrum. Was Batman a reaction to supervillainy, or did he attract it? Did she just have an innate sense of where to find these rides, or did they spring up knowing she was on her way? Nothing I've ever done or will do, creatively, professionally, or even personally, can be as satisfying as taking Jessica on a tilt-a-whirl. I once paid $40 to get us into a carnival, and then another $20 to get us on the ride, which was a tidy amount for us when things were lean, as they so often were. And as we eased into the domed chair and pulled the laughable restraining part to us, she breathlessly smiled and said that she couldn't believe that I had paid so readily, so willingly. And I am very pleased that I told her why. Jessica had an incredible laugh. Many laughs, as we all do. And I'm sure you were delighted by it on occasion. There was a deep, sympathetic laugh that communicated how much of a connection she felt with you over a shared bit of knowledge. There was a full-bodied, head-back guffawing that signaled that a joke or observation was felt by her on a subatomic level. And there was an uncontrollable, halting, fighting for air giggling over the silliest of things. Now, you've all heard those. But there was one more. This was her true laugh. And if any of you have ever had the distinct pleasure of riding on a tilt-a-whirl with her, you heard it. And that was Jessica laid bare. As the car would swing and the world tilted crazily in your view, when there was nothing but you and her and the dizzying forces of nature and the ingenuity of man all in concert, her laugh came from another dimension. It was an explosion of childhood wonder and mature wisdom. If emotion made a sound, then this was the sound of pure joy. That is what I told her then. That is what I'm telling you now. That no price was too high to hear that. I'd give literally any amount to hear it again now.
I love you, Michael.
Love you all.
Anybody? Anybody else?
In my earlier years, I sang "Come Up to Me No Matter." And I know Jessica's not super religious or anything like that, but given the fact that I was forced through Catholic school and everything else with her, I don't think it matters what I sing. And I asked Michael if I could, just so that I could let her know that I'm here with her, because it means a lot to me. She was always there for me. So however you pray, it doesn't matter to me. But I'd like to sing the Lord's Prayer, because she needs us. And as my father-in-law said to me before I came here in the text, to carry her over, wherever that is from. Okay? So, probably be the only type of prayer. Give me 1 second. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Okay. I'm not going to sing. If I were to follow up Our Father, I would sing Cartoon Heroes by the Nordic pop band Aqua. But
Do it!
we are the Cartoon Heroes. His favorite person. Okay. I don't know how close to an end we are here, but I did want to say one thing, which is I mentioned at the beginning that Jessica was very quick to anger, and she was. And I think the phrase I heard most from her, other than that she loved me, was, "This is so frustrating." It could be a monumental roadblock to something she was done, but it could also be something very simple. It was always, "This is so frustrating." So much so that I suggested that that would be her epitaph. I can't imagine a better gravestone than one that says, "Jessica Wallace, this is so frustrating." And I think she liked that idea. And then, just in the past week, I was going through all of her sketchbooks, and I was going through the last one. And on the very last page of her most recent sketchbook, she had drawn a gravestone and written exactly what her epitaph should be. Now, whenever you're leaving, there is a pair of fangs, like Dracula fangs, sitting over by the door. And in that are tiny gravestones that I would like you all to have and take with you, that both myself and thank you, Gretchen, for finishing the work, that illustrate exactly the thing she had written. I won't spoil the joke, but it's really true. Yeah. Supreme. Obviously, I'm not kicking you out. I would like you all to hang around and eat and drink and continue to discuss her. I think the presentation portion of the evening might be over. What? We might have a song coming up immediately afterwards. I do want to say this, I didn't prepare this, but I kind of mentioned at the beginning that I came to Jessica as what I thought was a fully formed human being, and learned very quickly that that was not the case. And I mentioned that, you know, she was not didactic, she was not pedantic. She didn't set out and teach you a lesson, but she always wanted you to be better, at least me. And I know I am now. You know, as Justin mentioned, Jessica taught me the value of $1, how far you could stretch it. But she also taught me how motherfucking worthless $1 is. She would always say to me, when times were tough, they often were, she would say, whatever we need, we can make, and then it's gone. And we're not going to be buried with it. So let's go have this adventure instead. And I know that's a crazy way to live, and if the entire world did it, the entire world would fall down. But I will go to my grave where I rejoin her, thanking her for teaching me to be better, teaching me the actual value of life. And goddamn, she has ruined me for anyone else in my entire life. I've never known such a love. This sounds really sort of conceited in a way, but I don't think any of you have either. She was kind of just that amazing. And I want to thank you all for coming, because she's worth it. And I love you all. Thank you all for accepting me into your lives. I know it wouldn't be possible without her. I think 99% of my friends I now have because of Jessica. And I'm grateful that you accepted me as you did her. And ultimately, I just want you to look at her artwork, because she was fucking amazing. I love you all. Thank you.
Just for frame of reference, that's right there. Those are the facts. Please take one on your way out. Not that I'm kicking you out. Get out.
Mike, you need a beer?
Yeah.
Copy that.
Thank you.
Nothing. Just one of those. All you can do. Every day. I'm trying to put together my day
Just so you can see it.
And then I guess you can cut after this.
Yes. Down how far she is.